representative from TransPerfect and present him with a silver record as evidence and commemorative of our 25th anniversary for participation in this year's game.
You know what kind of game it's going to be. It's going to be a tough physical game, once again. It's going to be a close game. And I think it'll be a game that people really enjoy watching. I think there's been a lot of discussion, a lot of things. There's a lot of change in college football right now. But I could promise you with these two teams and the pride that we have within our institutions that we are looking forward to this opportunity, looking forward to competing, and looking forward to representing our places and in representing the Music City Bowl in the long history that they have in college football and in the bowl season. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's been a great experience. Again, I think our players have handled themselves very well. We had good preparation back in Lexington prior to our little break and got here, and guys have been doing a good job. So, you know, we're looking forward to it. And with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Please remember to raise your hand and we'll get you a microphone. Go ahead.
Hi, Coach Stoops. This is Scott Docterman with The Athletic. I'm over here. Hi.
Gotcha. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm going to ask you kind of more of a broad question than anything specific, but with so much change in the last couple of years in college football, probably more so than any other period in the history of the sport, is there anything that really needs to be centered on or focused on in the next 6 to 12 months that you think needs to help kind of stabilize what's going on? Otherwise, it could be kind of a runaway train off the tracks.
Well, I believe it's already a runaway train, but I'm not sure I have the time or the platform to answer all those questions. I don't think I have all the answers. I think there's a lot of people that have worked really hard. We're trying to make it better for our student athletes. We're trying to improve the game and help in many ways. But you know, it's in a different place. There's no question. Right now, for me, the best way to do it is just to adapt. You know, it is what it is. We didn't make these rules, but we better, you know, be as good as we can at them. You know, so I think the leadership of college football needs to get together, and we need to find some solutions, some guardrails on some things. But you know, there's a lot to unpack right there, and there's a lot to work through, and it's gotten pretty far away from us at this point, and hopefully we could reel it back in at some point.
Mark, Ken Spencer, WHAS 11. What do you want to see from your quarterbacks tomorrow? And is it important to keep the offense wide open just to let them show what they can do?
Well, yeah, it's very important. I mean, the first thing that you have to look for is just command. You know, the guys that can operate the offense and move the football. You know, it's going to be a great challenge with the Hawkeyes, and you know, they do a great job defensively. I think you're going to hear from Brad White, our defensive coordinator, who I think the world of. Who's one of the best defensive coordinators in the country, and certainly you could look at Iowa and Phil Parker and the job that he's done and how good they are defensively. Two of the best defensive coaches in college football, in my opinion. And you know, so it'll be a challenge, but our quarterbacks have looked good. Either team, you know, both of us, we're going to play a quarterback that's inexperienced. You know, so you know, we'll see where it goes. I think both of us will tell you it's very important to play well around them. We have some guys with experience that have played that need to step up and do the best job that they can to help the quarterback out.
Mark, Mitch Brown, Fox 56 in Lexington. You know, a lot is predicated on wins and losses, but for you, to hear your captains and your seniors talk about this game means something to them and setting the tone for the next group, for the next team. Just how much does that mean to hear, especially with, you know, the way things are now with so many players sitting out games, but for them to lead by example in a game like this?
Yeah, I think it means a great deal to us to see guys that are working extremely hard, that are injured, guys like Jaquez, guys that are, have a good reason to sit out, but choose to play. And it says a lot about them individually. It says a lot about our culture and our team and what we're striving to do. As I mentioned, I think, Coach Ferentz could come up here, and any coach in the country, there's a lot of close calls, what ifs, and like to maybe have a few plays over a few games and certain opportunities, but that's life, that's college, and that's football. And I'm proud of the way our team persevered and pushed through and finished strong, and we want to continue that. We've won 4 bowl games in a row. That's not easy, and it'll be a great challenge. I was thinking about that the other day. When you play a team like Iowa, it's hard to beat them once. And then you go back-to-back years, and you know what a challenge that will be.
John Stebby, Cedar Rapids Gazette. How much did it mean to you last year when you got the opportunity to coach on a sideline opposite of a place that has a special place in your heart? And what will it mean to you to be able to do that one more time?
Yeah, I think it was definitely a little different last year for me. I acknowledge that. I think going into it and playing them, it's been a while as a head coach and playing them, playing the Hawks and seeing those colors when you walk out there, it definitely was different. I think at this point, I'm used to it now. So let's go play the game, and I know what a great challenge it is. And really more business-like this year and wanting to prepare the team and put them in a good position to win.
Mark, you before this press conference started, you just rolled out a name, image, and likeness kind of call to action, if you will.
I did?
On your social media account. Yeah, you did.
It's news to me.
What are the kind of latest on y'all's efforts, and how involved can you be in it? And it is organizationally, are things where they kind of need to be for you to succeed in that landscape?
Yeah, I did review the video that you were talking about and okayed it a day or two ago. Wasn't sure when they were releasing it. But, we're in a good position. I think our administration has worked really hard with us to get ourselves in a position where we can be successful. I think, as I've mentioned before, so the foundation, the roots are in place. I think any coach that sits up here would say, you need, it's just the way it is. You need money in the collective. There's no denying that, and everybody in our organization wants to support that collective and help our players. Again, we didn't create those rules. Neither did the Hawks, but it's part of a much broader system that is in place right now that we all have to adapt, and we have to be able to adjust and be successful in that area. So we need the money.
Mark, Dick Gabriel, the UK Network. You've had a strong tight end room all year, and now for various reasons you don't. What kind of challenge does that present?
It'll be different, but there's guys that'll step up. It'll be nice to see Isaiah out there, and we still have both Dingle brothers that have been very successful all year. So we'll have the pieces in place to execute.
Mark, Dominique Yates, WLKY in Louisville. Just not obviously you played a lot of younger players throughout the season, but how much have some of these guys viewed this as almost like an audition this bowl season to try to prove what they're capable of doing and get those valuable minutes?
Well, I think it's once again important. It'll be interesting to see. As you see, we played a lot of young guys, as you know, and that gets difficult through the entire season. So at the end, there's some people just kind of hanging on because whether it's physically, mentally, and now we get a little break. They get a chance to have some time off, get their legs underneath them, decompress a little bit physically and mentally, and then get back at it and refocus and get ready to have a really big game. So those players that have some experience through this year, I'd like to see them have a big game. And then there's some others that have maybe redshirted throughout the year, and with the attrition that comes with some of the bowl games and for certain reasons. I mean, we've had players that are going through surgeries and, in different reasons that aren't here, and it happens to everybody. So therefore, it puts some of your players in a position to maybe get on the field that haven't had that opportunity throughout the year. And, Jordan Anthony is a guy that jumps out at you with great speed. Brandon White, another player, that's redshirted that may have some opportunities to create some plays. So hopefully they'll do some things, and there'll be some others as well. Nick Hall is another one, and Grant Bingham, and guys that you hadn't seen too much of, but you could see them in this game.
We've got time for 2 more questions.
Mark, in the lead up to the bowl game, what have you seen from your offensive line? I know that's been a group that kind of struggled this year, and just how important is that battle in the trenches against a team like Iowa going to be?
Yeah, definitely something that no question will be a point of emphasis for us, because you know how stout, how physical Iowa is. This year, maybe we hadn't been as physical or as consistent as we've been in the last 3, 4, 5 years. So it's an area where we must step up. We have to, and we have to play well in that area, or it won't lead to too much success. So we better play good in the trenches. And I have confidence in our guys. I feel like we're healthy. They've worked hard. We've tried to make sure we put them in a position to be successful and simplify some things and make sure, we don't beat ourselves, number one, because when you're playing a team like this and expect somewhat of a defensive game, you better be making sure you're putting your guys in a position and not going backwards and turnovers and sacks and things of that nature.
Coach Stoops, thank you very much.
Okay, thank
Good
you
luck
all.
tomorrow.
Thank you.
Coach, how difficult is it to prepare for Iowa with the quarterback situation and not having film?
Yeah, it's always a challenge, and I think a lot of teams run into that, in the bowl season with so much transition, whether it be players, whether it be, coaching staffs or systems, and that's the nature of the business. The 2 games that always leave you a little bit in the dark, bowl games and then the first game of the season. So we've had to prepare accordingly. The one thing that you do know, when you face a really talented Iowa team is you can pull up their film over the last, 10 years, and the core is their core. And it's going to start up front. I think you just heard Coach talk about, when you're playing a younger QB, it's the reliance on the pieces around it, so he doesn't have to feel like he has to make all the plays. And they have plenty of talent surrounding them at the tight ends. We just talked about the running backs. The offensive line is always well coached and creates movement. So they'll put them in situations to be successful. And like any situation for a young player, this is their opportunity. And so we're expecting the best out of him, and we might have to adjust a little bit in flight, during the game, depending on whatever style we see.
What challenge does a tight end like Sam Laporta force for you as you game plan against him?
Yeah, it becomes very much a matchup issue. Do you put a linebacker on him? Do you put a safety on him? He'll get matched up on corners at times, and so now he's a big body. We've been, I say, lucky enough, but we were able to face Georgia this year, in their 2 tight end systems. I think Iowa's 2 tight ends are, of that caliber as well. So both Laporta and Lachey offer, really good route running. They're both physical blockers at the point of attack, so you can't go small, or they'll run it down your throat. If you go big, it's kind of a downfield mismatch. We saw him last year and, knew he was going to be a focal point, and he still had a big game. So he's a talented player. Talented players find a way to make plays. We have to do a good job of trying to limit them, not let them get explosive. We did not do the best of job of that last year. Took the screen pass for a touchdown, had a big bender, around midfield. So, but that's going to be a security blanket for a young quarterback, to have two tight ends that can run mid-level routes and get the ball in their hands, know he's going to create space, give them a throwing window to throw in. So that's going to be a challenge for us.
Got a question down the front.
Hi, Coach. Chad Leistikow, Des Moines Register. Is there first of all, have you scoured high school film of Joe Labus to find out what's, to get a sense of him? And also, as a defensive coordinator, both of you are in the same boat. Like, do you attack a young quarterback that hasn't really played before, or do you kind of sit back and wait to see what he can do before kind of mounting your game plan, I suppose?
To the first part of the question, yes, the nice part is that high school highlight films are readily accessible, so we were able to watch his high school film, and again, a talented player that can move on the run, make throws on the run, both to his strong hand and off hand, can make some off-platform throws. You can absolutely see why I was excited to have him come in and how he fits that system. As far as how we plan to attack, we'll sort of see come tomorrow. I appreciate that, and but I don't know if we're fully. I think that it's going to be something based on how they're using him as well. And again, when you're a young player and you've got the opportunity to sort of make a name for yourself, there's a little bit of scariness to that, because, hey, who knows? You always had to start somewhere. And we've had young players this year that had no experience and have played really well for us defensively. So he's going to come in. We anticipate him playing really well. We anticipate him giving them some new sort of juice and energy, and maybe a wrinkle or two in terms of his athleticism. So our guys have to be ready to adapt to that.
We have time for one more question for Coach White.
Yeah, hi, Scott Docterman with The Athletic. I wanted to ask you a little bit about the Georgia tight end combination and of Washington and Bowers, and they just seem to be uniquely gifted. How did you try to defend them, and what did you take away from that? Because Iowa's combination is maybe not to that level, but it's still a pretty quality, high-level tight end combination.
Yeah, I think it provides us the ability to lean on something. When you have sort of a good duo of tight ends, our guys can gain some confidence. We came out of that game and played, well, against those tight ends. And so it creates a unique challenge, very much to the point of where the Patriots were back in, the late 2008, 9, 10, when they had Gronk and Hernandez. And if you go small to 12 personnel, they'll run the football. If you go big, they can spread you out. Laporta can play wide receiver very much like Bowers. Lachey is a lot like Washington. He's more of the inline guy. So they've given us, we've got a little bit of a blueprint for ourselves in terms of how to match up, and defend a similar style offense and how they want to attack. But every team's slightly different. So again, while it may give you sort of a base blueprint, you've got to sort of attack in different ways as well.
Thank you, Coach White.
Thank you.